Welcome back to the North American LCS. We've got more games coming right up, but right now, I've got Phreak with me to go over the current power rankings of bot lane carries for the North American LCS. Now, Phreak, before we get into the list itself, give me a little bit of the method to the madness in all this.
Sure. So first things first, this was put together after the end of week 2, so none of the week 3 games matches filter into this at all. And it's a mix of basically your stats as a player, how I think you've played, have you made really big plays, Baron steals, things like this, and generally how well is your team doing, because a team is always a function of the rest of its players, so your team's record absolutely factors into this.
All right, well, so the first thing I noticed right off the top, Sneaky, Apollo, Stixxay, all in that A tier, but Sneaky up at top. What's the reasoning behind that?
I think Sneaky is the #1, and some of this is the eye test thing where he's gotten those really sick Baron steals in there. He's been a huge provider of damage. His Zai has been good. He's been bringing in the new champions. Again, he's bringing out the Kennen, one of the first, if actually the first in North America to do so. And his stats are solid. He's doing very well all around. And again, this is what it's about. There's the Kennen ult I'm talking about right here. He is a man who's able to make game-winning plays, so I think he is the best performing bot laner in North America for the first 2 weeks.
And he's always been the person in the North American LCS to pioneer the new champions, right? I mean, we saw it with Kalista. We see it time and time again that he'll bring those champions in first, and a lot of the other ADCs will follow in his footsteps in terms of build path, build orders, all that kind of stuff. Next up, Apollo. I mean, this is a guy that will probably surprise a lot of people to be found here in the A tier. Why is he up that high?
So, Envy, 3-1 coming into this one. He has the best laning stats of any player in the bot lane. This is his year. You saw his solo kills, you see his arrows, eye test is there, stats are there, record is there. By every metric, Apollo is an amazing player. I do like consistency to some level. Consistency matters to some degree, and that's why I kind of gave a Sneaky a nod over him. It was hard for me to convince myself that Apollo is the best player in North America right now, but he's performing very, very well. He's deserving of a #2 spot.
I know you're not taking into account week 3 performances, but even in the loss yesterday, I was very impressed by many of his skirmishes and the mechanics in terms of getting the maximum amount of damage out while keeping himself alive at the smallest sliver of health. Next up, though, Piglet. I mean, this is a guy who's had many ups and downs throughout his career here in the North American LCS. But you have him sitting here in tier B. Why is that?
So I think he's made some mistakes. His laning stats, there's some misgivings here. But you see these stats here, #1 in kills per game, #1 in KP, #1 in damage share, #1 in kill share. He's the only player who's got more kills than assists in this role. Piglet's team is deplorable. They are doing so badly, and yet he still looks good. He's not dying, yet he's getting his damage out. The only reason he's not higher is because, again, they're not translating it into wins. And you can blame his teammates maybe, but there's only so far I'm willing to give you, which is why he's B tier, because he's not quite winning, but he's playing out of his mind, and so he deserves at worst a B tier.
Right, so solid stats and gameplay in spite of a losing team. Lastly, I want to talk about Arrow. I mean, this guy was our spring split MVP. The team is yet to find a W, so as you mentioned, a lot of it is the product of, well, is the team even winning? And it doesn't seem to be the case here for Arrow and Phoenix One.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. When you look at Piglet play on a losing team versus Arrow play on a losing team, it is night and day. Arrow is making huge mistakes. He is dying a ton. He's laning terribly. There's nothing good coming out of him, and it feels like he's trying to make the big plays to carry. He's like, how do I juggle all these losing teammates? But Piglet can actually do that and look good while trying, and Arrow looks bad while trying. Everything pretty much is bottom of the barrel for Arrow. Stats, wins, everything. He just is not playing well. Can he play better? Of course he can. He's the defending MVP. But what is he doing right now in the first 2 weeks? Bad things.
Right, when we've seen him at his highs, and when he's at his highs, it is phenomenal, but he's not there right now. Of course, there was the announcement this week that Xpecial has been picked up by Phoenix One, so we'll see if that change in the bot lane kind of aids in him moving up this list as the season progresses. Now that you've heard what Phreak has to say, though, we want to hear from you and get your thoughts. So let us know what you think of this list and how you expect the players to stack up by tweeting at LOL Esports using the hashtag NALCS. Now, without further ado, let's send it back over to the casters to get us into the game. Guys, take it away.